All right.
What
Hi,
is
this
that?
is David Fugel, Life Sherpa, and this is a really special opportunity for me to come to you and share some thoughts during this Corona crisis. And this is really all about coping. And I wanted to introduce you to a really special guest. Um, Mike, Hip Hop Mike, is on board. Um,
How are you? What's up, David?
Bro,
Thanks for having
it's been a roller coaster. Woohoo! How's okay? So,
me.
Mike, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and
Uh,
then I'll tell everybody how we met because I think that's pretty fun.
yeah. So I'm basically my name is Mike. People call me Hip Hop Mike. I'm a radio host here in New York City. And yeah, I'm just a big fan of music. I kind of got into the whole self-love, you know, empowerment, I guess to say, consciousness. I don't really know how to describe it, but I kind of started getting frustrated with the way I was living, being pessimistic, being kind of you know, it's hard to say, like looking for the negatives and things.
Yep.
And a year ago I kind of started just doing some self-discovery and trying to become a better person, better man. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at now between doing radio and trying not to panic about anything that's going on with this corona situation. Keeping my mind straight and allowing good things to come in. So
I
that's where
feel it.
I'm
I feel it. I feel
at.
it. Let me just share with everyone. So, Mike and I met uh, through Counseling in Schools, which is a not-for-profit. We volunteered to do a career day in Brooklyn at a high school in Brooklyn. What was that? Do you know the name of the high school?
I forget the name of the school, but it was in Canarsie.
In
It's definitely
Canarsie.
in the hood,
Wow, it
yeah.
was an amazing experience. I loved doing it, and I see this guy with a jacket on. I'm like, oh boy, he's one of the presenters, huh? Okay, so we
Yeah.
introduced each other. We of course went right to laughing together, which felt great. And then we each get a table. So all Mike's table has a sign, Hip Hop Mike. Boom. Like, all right. They give me a table because of what I do, and it says, um, what did it say?
I
Confused.
still have my sign.
You do? I have
I
thought
do.
mine too. My son said confused. So I was there for anybody that was confused about what they were going to do in their career. And my line didn't build up as quickly. Before I turn around, there's like 20 people on Hip Hop Mike's line. I couldn't believe it. So they were all over him and his energy. And we got to talk about spirituality and how it played a role. It's playing a role. I mean, in so many ways, Mike has taken this last year this part of his journey to really study, explore. I've been involved in self care, self love, self compassion for quite a
Everything.
while. Yeah, and I think you're right there, and I'm so excited for you. And also just to share, your life was incredibly challenging. You have a doubt. You could have 10,000, a million excuses as to why to do things differently than you've chosen to, and you are, you're just an inspiration of resilience and hope
Appreciate it,
and
man.
authenticity. So I just want to share that, and that's really why I wanted you here because tough stuff happens in life, right?
It's a
You know,
fact.
and you've struggled, but you really have found ways of coming through this in
I mean,
places
I
that you
think
can grow.
you hit the nail on the head, man. It's just that nobody wants to hear excuses. I mean, this is 2020 America. Nobody cares about your excuses or anything. So it's either you doing it right or you're giving up. That's really it. There's nothing else to do out here.
That's the truth. That is the truth.
Can't
And
give up. Just gotta try and do it right every time.
absolutely, absolutely. And and life, and I guess again in this crisis, I've experienced it with so many clients, and in my own life, you're either moving upward in the spiral or you're moving downward in the spiral, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
And it
and
can flip
you
at
want
any
to catch it.
second.
Yeah, that's a fact. So let's start today because again we know we're targeting toward students that are struggling. You can imagine that all of a sudden classes end, you're sent home, you're locked in. You may or may not get along with your parents. They may or may not get along with each other. Your siblings. Okay. These are all first world problems. However, emotionally, you could be thrown for a loop. And then on top of that, you're expected to perform by tuning into classes, doing all of this focus stuff. And just, for me, I don't know how it's been for you, Mike. How hard has it been for you to stay focused over the last couple of weeks on doing what you do?
I mean, it's been pretty tough, man, to be honest. I stopped smoking weed like in December, and I really started focusing on like, the mental health and just running every day and going to exercise and like really trying to get my ish together.
Mm.
And this obviously brought a lot of that to a screeching halt. When the gym closed, they told you don't go outside. I was like spending a lot of time outside trying to like, really just get in tune with like,
Right.
I guess, nature in a sense, and
Yeah.
like, those vibes instead of just being on my phone all day. And I mean, when this happened, it was kind of hard because it was like, what is there to do besides go back to those vices and kind of try and just like, wait it out. And I think, last week, because for the first week or two, it's like I just completely gave into the vices, man. I was just like back to smoking, back to kind of eating sketchy. Like, I mean, not completely back to the eating sketchy, but like, there's not a lot of stuff open right now. I'm not a guy that cooks in the house. So like, when you can't go to like get sushi, you get like good food and like healthy stuff, it's like pizza and burgers and things. But I think in the last week I've realized, that this isn't coming to an end right away, and you can't slip 100% down that spiral you're talking about before. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of just like, getting a hold of myself again, speaking to people like yourself, reading a lot, studying a lot. I kind of got into like learning the stock market and like what's kind of going on with that the past couple of days, and just taking lots of notes, doing lots of studying.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. And I really
Not to
appreciate
smoke
your
lots.
honesty because it isn't a straight line. It isn't a straight line when it comes to scary stuff. And let's face it, it's fear, right? Fear is triggering a lot of this stuff. And when you don't know what you need to know, like when does it end and how do you deal with it? And we'll talk about it not being our fault. It's just a process. And so why don't we start on that now? We'll kind of go through, and I'll share my screen, hopefully.
I think so much of it's like intention and perception,
Definitely.
Um,
Absolutely so.
all right.
All right. So Mike, I'm gonna tell you, I'll share with everyone, and I want everyone that's watching to kind of do this for themselves. I've been the victim of anger, blame, discouragement, meaning victim. Other people have that energy and are, blaming and angry at the situation, cursing politicians, the virus, the Chinese, everybody's been on their radar. And so, but in my heart, what I've been feeling is frustration, irritation, impatience, and that's probably been the low. I mean, if I could say maybe some worry, throw some worry in there. This is sort of a recipe, right? And then I've also gone as far as hopefulness. So sort of, a spectrum of emotions. But the key is I'm trying to move, as you're seeing this, we're moving upward in the emotional scale. So if I find myself worried, I know what I can do to bring myself, and we'll share those things also, move myself up in that scale. So the lower you are, the more likely you are to turn to things that are destructive, right? Yeah. And the higher you are, the less likely you would be. So Mike, tell me where you've been on this emotional scale.
I mean, I feel like I've been everywhere on this scale, but I mean, I'd say lately more on the boredom. I guess trying to be more positive, but like I don't know. I've shifted, man. I've shifted from the bottom to the top.
I hear you.
Mostly, I guess finding the median at boredom.
Right. Right.
I've been very bored, man, and kind of like I guess to cater what you said, the frustration, impatience is definitely
Yep.
been hitting.
Yep. Yeah. So again, look at this, and it's okay. Just be authentic, be real, be vulnerable. This is where you are, but know that when you're on the lower end of the scale, you don't want to get stuck there. That's where we
Yeah.
do self
That's
harm.
the
So
tough part.
right,
Like I'll be honest, man, it's tough to not get stuck there because if you're a student, you're in school, you're already naturally kind of like overwhelmed and things like that. So
right.
for this to come on top of that and a lot of uncertainty, it's hard to not get stuck, but it's really your perspective again and like what do you want to be, not what are you stuck with.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And again, that part of the challenge that we face is that we're biologically created to react. So I just wanted everyone to see this little image. I hate biology, but it is important. So the
Pretty good at
limbic,
it.
the reptilian brain is the oldest, but that's the seat of the alarm system, the amygdala. And so whether we're being chased by saber-toothed tigers or we're listening to the news, it feels like we're being attacked. Danger, it's perceived by the reptilian brain, that instinctual brain, that there's danger, 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 right? So of course we react emotionally and we feel it and throughout the brain, and then we go into a fight or flight reaction. um, the, the way to get out through that, there are many processes that we can take, but we want to get calm from that alarm system, soothe it somehow. As you've been all over the place because you've been all over this part. All three brains. The limbic brain and the neocortex are easier to be staying in than that fight or flight or freeze reptilian brain. And so if we could do the right thing, go into the right actions and thoughts, we can bring it to a rational thinking brain. So I just wanted to share the yucky science of it. But also I want you guys to have self-compassion, because that is the way we are built. And because we're built that way, how about some of this stuff, Mike? This I call permission to be human. These are the ugly statistics, right? We have 60,000 thoughts in a day, and 80% of them are negative. Again, because of the way the brain is built. There were no optimistic, there might have been optimistic cavemen, but they did not survive because
Yeah.
they started whistling, and then a pterodactyl came and swept them away. So we are the descendants of the pessimistic cavemen. So that's why they are negative, right? So when you find don't beat yourself up if you're like, God, why am I feeling so negative? Well, that's your stuff working to protect you from danger, right? So embrace the biology is all I'm asking you to do. 90% of our thoughts are repeated day after day. That's why we sometimes feel they call that the monkey mind in some cultures, where it's like just or chatter. Dr. Amen calls it the ants, automatic negative thoughts, and they are just creeping on in. Um, and how does that show up? It shows up in the way of how we receive compliments versus criticism, for example. Normally, studies have shown that it takes one criticism to 10 compliments to move our mood. So one criticism could move as much as 10 compliments. So Mike, you just have to remember to compliment me 10 times to one, to one. But isn't that right? Like, don't you get blown away when all people need to do is say one bad thing, right?
Yeah, I mean it's easier to find the negatives than it is the positives a lot of the time, you know? Like I mean, look at
Yeah,
Yelp. People go on there to complain about their food. Now people very solemnly go on to be like, I love this. This was great.
great point. And do and okay, so that's a great exercise. A great exercise is to look for things to compliment, right?
Well, we move through the good, but we kind of get stuck on the bad.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's the
Sure.
way we were built. So we're going against biology. Just know that. Just know you're going against biology. And the good news is that happy people can reverse that. They can register the positive and minimize the negative. But that's how that all comes from mindset. And again, you didn't start with this mindset, right, Mike?
No, definitely not. I was at the very bottom of that scale for a long time,
Right.
for sure.
Right. So it's something that you have to want and you got to work at. It's just like, it's like your six pack. You didn't get
Yeah, I mean, you got to get sick of the cycles. You go through the same thing over and over again. That's just negative. It's like you got to just kind of accept what you have control over. And once you
definitely,
realize what you have control over, it's like you could focus on that instead of focusing on stuff you can't.
totally. And again, let's go to another brain tendency, confirmation bias, right? If I think that being, this whole thing sucks and, I'm out of school and I got to do this from home and I hate everybody. I'm looking for evidence to support, interpret, favor what it is that I already believe. So
Yeah.
I already believe this sucks. Now I'm just looking for more and more evidence. I'm looking for people to commiserate with. That's the worst, right? I don't want to hear from people that are happy and peppy and bursting with love. I want to hear from people that are, oh, this really is terrible, and let's all have a pity party.
It's like, the ugly person always wants an uglier friend.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Exactly. I want to
You
feel good
know?
about myself, and I
Gives you
can't
those
feel
compliments.
good if I feel bad alone. Right.
Yeah, and it's easy to point fingers at people that are happy and just be like, oh, well, that's them, not me. It's like, I think you got to realize it always starts with you, however you're feeling, whenever you're feeling it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got that 1,000% right. And we are we are through our childhood, we get a happiness set point, which you could imagine based upon how things develop. And your happiness set point can be wherever it is, right? You could have had a great childhood, your happiness set point's high. You could have had a really rough one, set point is low. The good news is that new habits can change that set point. It's not fixed there forever. And I do think that that's an optimistic, positive thing. And then this, Mike, I love because I've shared it with
Love
you.
this chart.
Yeah. So
Was
this was
very wrong about it, but love it.
right. So this was a study done by Sonia Lewrowski with twins separated at birth. And what are the components of happiness? And these are the things that she broke it down to: three components: genetics, circumstances, and internal state of mind is what we think, what we do, and what we say. And I got to be honest, through my childhood, because I'm sure you as well, I blame my circumstance a lot. I would have thought it was 90% of the reason that I wasn't happy, or that I couldn't be happy because I didn't have certain things, or I was always focused on what I was missing, not what I didn't have, and I didn't really tune into gratitude or anything like that. Does that sound familiar, Mike?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So the good news is genetics is what it is. Okay, it's 50%. We'll put that on the shelf for the moment. I can control 40 with what I think, what I do, and what I say. That's amazing. So my circumstances are really minimized. The other part of this that's exciting is we now know through epigenetics that if I really stay in that positive place, hopeful place, I can actually change the form of my genes. If I'm really negative, if all I think about is fear of getting cancer, I can change the cells in my body and I'm more likely to be diseased. That's the way the way things show up. So I minimum have 40. I think I'm impacting the genetics. So this to me is why I'm out there doing what I do, preaching what I preach, and I am so excited to do it with people like Mike that didn't let their circumstances drown them, and find them stuck in a place that they would never get out of.
Yeah, I think for me the genetics is like, because I always thought it was all circumstance, and then I realized the genetics could be, say that whole 50% is just complete negative. You
Right.
could at least balance it out with the 40 and the 10, which you have more control over.
Exactly.
And I mean, the odds of that being like, I have the most negative parents ever, and I'd say they're probably like 40% negative, 10% positive. So it's
Right.
like more times than not, you could get more control in the happiness if you just
Exactly.
kind of break it down like that. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need BAPE to be happy as far as the circumstances go. But if you get your state of mind to be pretty optimistic, you could change your circumstances and really influence the whole chart, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it goes back to the confirmation bias. If I'm looking for the bad in my family, I'll find the bad. If I look for the good, you know what? It taught me a lot. A lot of that hardship taught me some things. And again, this is just a little diagram to show you guys. And again, I'm just giving you all permission to be human, feeling what you're feeling right now in this environment. In here, we have core beliefs about ourselves, about our future, about others. If I believe the future is bleak, that's going to lead. I'm tapping into core beliefs that I don't deserve a good future. That may be a core belief, or this always happens. As soon as I find myself starting to climb that ladder, I always get knocked down. That's a core belief, right? About myself, I'm not enough, or they don't think I'm enough, or I don't have the right this or the right that. And then so that leads to thoughts, which lead to feelings, which lead to behavior. And then that becomes the result. So again, we have to have an effect about what we believe in order to change our thoughts. But this can be done and is intentional. If you thought that because of the way the struggle that you had when you were young is going to impact today, or if you think, let's talk about where we are right now. If you think that this lost time from school is going to impact your future and my job prospects and everything else, then that's a core belief. Then that's what you're going to think. That's how you feel, and you're going to behave a certain way. You're going to drop out. You're going to be doing bad habits. Change the belief, change the thought, change the feeling, change the behavior. That's a biggie, right, Mike?
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, you've helped me with this. So now I just go through the thing that I sent out that I'm sure many of you have read in the newsletter, things that we can do to hack the system. Go back to the newsletter, read it. It's great stuff. And it's simple. But that?
Go back to it.
Yes,
exactly. Screenshot it and go back to it.
There you go. There you go. So out of these things, breathing, movement, social engagement, again, if we're disconnected, we have lonely. And they say that loneliness is as bad for our health. Studies have shown that it's as bad for our health as heart disease. Kind of unbelievable, right? What that emotion can do and how it can bring you. So connect. And that's really why I decided not to do this alone. I wanted to do it with Mike because I know that, he's in the middle of flourishing, and then all of a sudden this wave of negativity happens and we're all isolated. And how do we find our way through this new order? And
I'm trying to find inspiration in it, honestly, because what sparked all of this was like something super negative happening and me not wanting to address it the same way I've addressed past negative things. Like, so it's like you got to kind of make the decision within yourself to be like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore for myself, instead of just kind of being like, I'm going to be a victim to my circumstance.
Right. Victim or victor. You got to make a choice. And it is a choice. And a lot of victims don't want to acknowledge that it is a choice, but know that it is, and know that these actions can move us from victim to victim.
It's easy to be like, it's not me, it's not me. But I'm just telling you, like we said at the beginning, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're happy or miserable. So it's like, if you don't care if you're happy or miserable, you can't expect anybody to come along and be like, hey, this is how you do it. You got to go seek it.
That's right. I call it, I always tell everyone that it's all an inside job. If you look outward for approval, if you look outward for support, if you look outward for pity, sympathy, whatever, you're looking in the wrong direction. It's all an inside job. And so these things are intended to help you go to flourish, to thrive, inside to out. Not easy to turn to always, but they're there for you and they're tools. Voicing gratitude. I mean, I know Mike and I, after we met in Brooklyn, we had a little wave of gratitude texting where we expressed what we appreciated about one another, and it felt really great. It felt great to express my gratitude, but it also felt great to hear that Mike was grateful.
Yeah, nah, David's woke. David is definitely a one woke individual.
Well, and speaking of woke, guys, sleep, man. I know it sounds like, your mother talking or whatever. Sleep, the studies, no, man. It's mood, it's your immune system. It's so powerful. It's the anti-drug, right? If you sleep, you're repairing cells. You're becoming more alert, and the dopamine that flows from being well rested versus the stress hormones when you're cranky. I mean, do you ever get cranky when you're exhausted, Mike?
Man, I did overnights at Hot 97 for 4 years, bro.
That's rough.
Overnights, if you ever have to focus on school, because if you get stuck working overnights, it's gonna mess your whole life up. You know how much negativity and bad habits come with lack of sleep? It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy. And then when you wake up late, you miss half the day, and then everybody just thinks you're a bum. So it's like you can't win either way.
It's very true, man. And I think if you're starting from behind, right, immediately. And okay, so if the sleep is impacted by a necessity, like you're cramming for exams or whatever, okay, then do the other things to make up for it. But don't quit on it all, because that's just, then you're becoming the victim.
I've read that it makes more sense to go to bed early, wake up early, and cram in the morning than it does at night, because you'll retain more information. So if you're studying and you're like, oh, well, I stayed up late because I was studying, it's like, no, go to bed early and wake up early so that you can study and actually, retain information.
Yep. That's a really great point. Great point. And then use humor. We need to laugh right now. Everyone's so serious, and I like let's look for the happiness. I've been sending out videos of people in Italy singing, playing music. People in the police in Spain doing Baby Shark. It's hysterical. It's great, and it really raises your vibration. So tune into humor.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Sleep.
There you go.
Yeah, it covers 8 and 9.
It does. I love the way you connected that. And then connect with your yeses and your nos. Like you were saying, Mike, you slipped down and you connected that you didn't, it felt like a yes, or you didn't really tune in. But once you tune into that behavior, it starts to turn, you can hear a clear no, can't you?
Yeah, for sure.
You know yourself, you know your spirit. And
you know how you feel.
What's that?
I say, you know how you feel.
That's the truth. But that space is necessary. If you surround yourself with noise, you might not hear it. So get still with yourself. Tune in. And again, that's where I love the meditation and meditation, prayer, visualization, whatever you want to call it. And if anybody has any questions on any of this, please do contact me. You can get my information from this email that you'll be getting, and I'm really, really looking forward to hopefully collaborating on future episodes of coping with COVID. Mm-hmm. So this has been really, really special for me, Mike. I really, really appreciate your being here for me, sharing authentically, and hopefully helping these guys get through this weird end of semester.
It's trippy. Y'all can catch me at Hip Hop Mike on Instagram, Twitter, everything. Holla at me if you want to talk. Need some advice? I got you.
Beautiful, man. Thank you. All right. We'll hopefully see you guys through this and beyond.
Yo, good luck. Be safe.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.